And that leaves plenty of room for you, my listener, to be the smartest guy in your category of neckwear, whether it's the T-shirt, the open collar shirt, or the regular tie. You can be the smartest man in your category. I wear the bow tie because not many people do, and that lets me be kind of an exclusive person. This is David Tulis, your host here every morning. Tell a friend about our get together, if you would, here on 92.7, and also live on Facebook, live on YouTube. The public school systems in our country have a problem. They are officially atheistic or agnostic, and they can't teach morality in an honest way. And so what they've done is they've shifted over the years to a pragmatic decision-making model. The decision-making model is pragmatic because it says simply, well, if it's something that you do, just face the consequences, weigh the consequences, and realize that if you have sex, well, you might get pregnant. That might interrupt your schooling. That may keep you from getting a job. That may affect your family life. So you see, the arguments against fornication are not moral; they are pragmatic. There are consequences from your self-assertion of your sexuality, and therefore you should maybe abstain rather than engage in relationships with that very handsome young man on the ball team. And so there's a kind of pragmatism that affects the moral training of students in public education all across the country. Is there an antidote? Well, not directly, but there is perhaps an antidote on the edges of the school machine, and that would be by Christian groups such as Child Evangelism Fellowship, of which we have a chapter here in Chattanooga, coming in after school or before school. Here in the Chattanooga area, we have a group that oversees about 350 volunteers, and it's overseen by Patti Harris, who is the director of the Greater Chattanooga chapter. So, Patti, what are the areas what are the counties in which Child Evangelism Fellowship serves children and indirectly families after school?
In our area, we have Hamilton, Bradley, Catoosa, Dade, Ray, and Walker counties. And we are able to go into the school after school with a parent permission and able to really be able to teach some moral characteristics for the children and really build on some of the things that the school has been teaching.
So, for example, the school may have a lesson for this month on honesty. That would be maybe an obvious. Why should any student be honest when there are many advantages to being dishonest? How can honesty be held up as something admirable, worth doing, worth having as a trait, when there are many reasons to not be honest?
Well, we really try to focus on that moral character of honesty, because honesty, you can make it ahead in life a lot of times by being dishonest. But if you're honest in all of these things that come at you, we try to really teach those things, because in the long run, these things will bite you. They will come back and bite you. And when you're dishonest, a lot of times when you are telling lies, you will forget what you've told one person and another person and another person, and they come back at you, and it all falls apart.
Well, isn't your analysis seems very similar to my sketch of the pragmatic decision-making model. Is there more than that? Is it simply, well, you should be honest because you may have short-term benefits but long-term negative consequences? Isn't there more to it than that?
Well, we want to teach godly character, okay? And godly character will get you, we want to really work on the honesty to be able to be honest in all situations, because there are things that are going to break down. It breaks down the home, it breaks down the family, it breaks down every situation in life when we are dishonest. And so that honesty trait is something that is so important in a person's character for the rest of their lives.
Well, I think what you're suggesting, Patti Harris, is that Child Evangelism Fellowship wants a deeper cause and a deeper root for honesty than what Ben Franklin proposed. Ben Franklin had a saying, honesty is the best policy. But there, again, you have a pragmatic approach. If you're honest by policy, then you're honest because right now this is what works the best. Right now, in these circumstances, honesty will serve my interests and will get me further than if I'm dishonest. So honesty by policy is really not enough. And you're suggesting that the Christian theory demands more than honesty simply by by pragmatic use and calculation.
That's correct. That's correct. We really want to, this honesty and integrity. I was teaching some children yesterday about integrity, and I said, this is a big word for you little kids. But let me tell you about integrity. It's doing what's right when nobody else is looking. It's doing the things, that's a character quality. And it's something that you need, that respect, that character, that honesty, that integrity. Those type things are, like you said, you don't need it just for a day or here. You need it for a lifetime. It's who you are. It's ingrained in your being. And it's so important in life to be able to have these character traits taught to these children young.
Is that because in the Christian analysis, one is honest and hardworking even when no one is looking because God is looking? Is that the premise?
God is always looking, but we need to do that anyway. We need to do what's right when nobody else is looking. And I think that, those kids yesterday, it really, that integrity is something that you don't see a lot today in young people because, some instances is that somebody may call a parent and a parent doesn't want to talk to that person. So they say, tell them I'm not here. That's a lie. And they're learning these lies at an early age. And when they start learning these lies, they just start building up and then they become immune to it and they don't even realize that they're lying. And so we've got to teach these characteristics as a young child so they will understand there are repercussions from these things that continue, these bad choices.
Well, in some respects, though, if I might beleaguer you just for a moment, Patti Harris of Child Evangelism Fellowship, in some circumstances, telling a lie is the right thing to do. And that would be, for example, Rahab telling a lie to the king of Jericho that no, the spies were not here. In fact, they went that way and they were hiding under the reeds. And there are many other examples in where a lie is really what is required. It's required to tell a lie and not the truth. How Christianity then is you might say it's a complex system where it's not simply, you could say that the Christian theory would be that you tell the truth to those who deserve to have the truth, and to those who don't. For example, the SS, the Gestapo at the door saying, "Where are your mother and father?" or "Where are your uncles whom are fugitives?" You have a duty to lie. You can't simply say, "Well, they're back in the back room, hiding under the table."
All right, you're putting me there, aren't you? Okay, 99.9999% of the time, it is the best way to live your life with integrity, honesty, those character traits, respect, and telling the truth. Honesty is so important. So I'm going to continue with that and say that we need to really focus on teaching these children.
What are some of the other
right?
What are some of the other virtues, Patti Harris, that the fellowship instructs students in?
Respect. One of the principals all the time are saying how much they love these children to be in these good news clubs because of the respect of authority. As you see today, a lot of students are not respecting authority in any form or fashion. So this is something that is really huge. This respect for authority, kindness, fairness, morality, being thankful. And, today's world, people are not thankful for a lot of things. They want to be given everything on a silver platter. And so they're just not thankful. They take things for granted. And so we really help try to reemphasize these things, these moral character qualities, so that these children's lives and one thing is bullying in schools. One thing that the principals and the teachers have said, the respect and the less bullying, when these kids learn that respect for each other and that kindness and fairness to students, that has really helped in that area as well.
Well, I'm interested to hear you say that respect for authority is part of the Child Evangelism Fellowship motto and theory. And the reason it's kind of sharp in my mind, I'm proposing an essay for the homeschool crowd in Chattanooga about the need for respect for law. Now, respect for law and respect for authority are different things, and in fact, in the case that I mentioned in my essay, they're contradictory. And that the story is about Worth County, Georgia. In April, there was a mass search of 900 high school students by the sheriff and his deputies. There were many instances of sexual assault of girls. Boys were sexually assaulted by having their privates manhandled by the deputies. And the whole thing was done without probable cause. And the thing that I lamented was this. No student was reported as having said, "You take your hands off that girl." I mean, here we had men, some of them no doubt Christian men, their hands high on the wall. Next to any particular one of them is a girl. Her hands are on the wall too, and she's being groped by a deputy. Her bra's being pulled down. Her underwear, the fingers going under her underwear, and that's the sheriff for this crime has been indicted. But how come, I ask, were there no men to stand up to that lawless authority and in fact support the law, uphold the law, and demand probable cause? Because probable cause requires that a search happen only for particular suspicion. You can't have, there's no such thing as a mass warrant. There's no such thing as a general warrant. It has to be specific for each person. So if a person is body checked, that's because there's a suspicion of him or her individually. No one said anything. And so my question to my homeschool families, readers is, are we any better? Do we, as homeschool families who care about liberty and freedom and have sort of seceded from the public system, is there any training among the young men, particularly, to be courageous and bold and to know something about standing up to lawless authority? So what do you make of that discussion, Patti Harris?
Wow, that's a terrible situation. Horrible. We need to teach respect for authority, but however, respect for ourselves as well. And if somebody is doing something that we know that is not in respect of our bodies, because our bodies are a temple, we need to stand out. We need to speak up.
I think that school, Patti Harris, would have done well to have a child evangelism club there.
Yes, it sounds like they need it desperately.
Because that point might have been made. So now let me ask about being a volunteer for Child Evangelism Fellowship. How do you find that many people to cooperate with you? That's a very large number of volunteers to manage, it seems to me. How did you find them? What is expected of them?
Wow, we have been in the Chattanooga area for about 50 years, and we used to, I don't know if any of y'all have ever, if you had a flannel graph Bible story in your home or in a yard near your home years ago, but that's how it kind of started here in Chattanooga. And so we have some folks that have been involved for a long time. Our volunteers are aged from 14 all the way to about 85 and all in between. So people understand how important it is to teach children and to teach children respect and fairness and about the gospel and to be thankful. And so we go through churches a lot of times, and the churches help raise up some volunteers. We also have a summer program that we teach children, we teach youth, and those youth become excited and want to continue to be able to teach. And so a lot of those ones that the youth that are teaching in the summer, they are also teaching now in the fall at some of the community centers, at some of the schools, and some of the preschools right now.
Now, you mentioned that community centers are also places where these after-school clubs take place. Say something about them.
Right. Yes, there's quite a few. There's 17 community centers in the Chattanooga area, and we are able to go in and help also do one of our clubs there. And a lot of these are in the inner city. So one thing that we really need there is we need role models, male role models in some of these areas. So that would be huge to get some more male role models, because a lot of these children in these areas do not have that authority figure in their lives. And that would be huge to be able to get some folks to step up to be able to help teach these characteristics.
There are 17 community centers in Chattanooga, and how many lack an after-school Bible program?
Yes, we have about 10 that we need volunteers for. So we really could use some folks to step up and help us as we ingrain and give to these children.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with Patti Harris. She's the director of Child Evangelism Fellowship. Now, Patti, my listener's about to duck out on me. What's your number in case he wants to call about his teenage daughter, 17, who really needs some kind of mercy work in her life? You
can call 423-622-1737. 423-622-1737.
Now, what about the funding for Child Evangelism Fellowship? Do you take tax money, Patti Harris?
No tax money at all. We individual donations. We do some grant work, and we do ministries, churches, and also some businesses help support, and that's how we get to do what we do.
What's the budget?
The budget is $289,000.
And are you the only employee?
We have 5 full-time staff, and it takes that to be able to go out and find the volunteers, to be able to manage the volunteers and all of the things. There is so much that we actually ministered last year to 11,500 children in the Chattanooga area.
Why do you want men? You mentioned we really like to have males, like my listener, involved in this program. Why men over women? What's the
well,
difference?
We've got a lot of women, and they volunteer very rapidly, and which is wonderful, and they are tremendous. The reason we need some males, or we need some male role models for these students that don't have a man figure in their life. And it really—
Say more. Say more about that.
Okay, yeah. They need that respect. They need to understand that a man is okay. And a lot of them don't have a father. And so we need those father figures in these children's lives so they understand that men are okay, that they do know how to love, that they are thankful, that they do respect. There's honesty coming from them so that they can, especially the little boys, they need to see this modeled.
If that man can love God, maybe I can too.
That's exactly right. And that's so important for them to see that.
Because loving the Lord and talking about Jesus is not just for sissies and wimps.
That's exactly right. It's for all of us. And when those young men see a man up there teaching, it is just it's just beautiful to see, because they are seeing something modeled, not something somebody just talks about, but it's being modeled right there in front of them, how they can love and respect those children, just as those children need to love and respect others.
Well, how long is an after-school club event, Patti Harris?
They take an hour a week for the whole school year.
And what happens in that hour?
In that hour, we are able to do a Bible lesson. We do memory scripture verse. We are able to teach them new songs that have godly moral character in it. We teach them review games so we can understand how much that they've learned that week to make sure they're understanding things. And we teach them about prayer and how they have someone to talk to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so we're able to just go into the whole gamut.
And this is not illegal.
No, it's not illegal. In 2001, there was a Supreme Court ruling in our favor that we could have access in the public school right after school with the parent permission.
This is after school. It's not part of the curriculum. It's voluntary. The mom and dad, or the mom or dad, or the guardian of said child signs permission, and then the child comes once a week to these gatherings.
Yes, and we had a survey that we did across the country, and it was really cool. We had 224 principals in 28 states that were able to take this. Well, all of them could take the survey, but 28 states are the ones who responded. And here are a few of the responses that we got. The students who are in the Good News Club rarely receive discipline referrals to the office. Undoubtedly, the club has been a successful part of curbing bullying and classroom disrespect from the children. Another one said, students love the program. Parents are excited to have the program in our school. The Good News Club works with us to promote good choices among children. And then another, kid and parents love it, and the teachers are absolute best. They are a joy to have on campus. And one more here says, it also helps some of our students that do not make friends very easily find a common ground. So as you can tell, the school, a lot of the principals and some here in Hamilton County absolutely love this. We're in 39 schools right now, and would love to be in every single one.
So you, my listener, if you have a teenage son or teenage daughter, that I do want to recommend that you consider having that child make some serious thought, give some serious thought to possibly working as a volunteer for Child Evangelism Fellowship. And again, it's a volunteer position, and there are some requisites. What briefly are the requirements?
We have a 6-hour training for every person who volunteers with us. We also have to fill out a volunteer form. And also we go through the background check for every single person and get references on every person.
Well, Patti Harris of Child Evangelism Fellowship, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, David. Great to be here today.
This is David Tulis, and we're hearing about this work after school, the Good News Clubs that are in 39 schools. There are 55 clubs altogether, each once a week for an hour. And the students get refreshing perspective out of the Gospels with an interest in applying what they hear there into their own lives and dealing with other children, dealing with parents, and dealing with authorities, being faithful, respectful, mindful, and caring. This is David Tulis. Those I think are the groundwork, the foundations of local economy and the free markets, and that's what we emphasize and we study here on the David Tulis program, where we argue that you should love your neighbor and buy local. And we are brought to you by Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. That's Nooganomics.com. Subscribe now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD.